Once upon a time, a fish named Fishy and three characters named Sharky, Crabby, and Stingray lived in the coral reef. Fishy fish cooked for them and cleaned their skin. When Fishy got them ready, they didn't say thank you and left without Fishy. Fishy had to listen to them and stayed home. The next day, the magic fairy god brother fish came out of a stick that Fishy took home. But he didn't know it was a magic stick. And he said, "What is your name?" "I am your fairy god brother." "Really? I wish to go to the fancy underwater coral ball with a fancy tuxedo, and I please have it fancy." "Okay, but be back before midnight. That is when my magic runs out." And so magic runs out, and you will need a ride to get back. Okay? I'll be back before midnight. But when Fishy got to the fancy coral ball, he danced. Everything was fine. Everything was good. But he forgot what the magic. But he forgot what the fairy godbrother said, and the magic wore off. He hurried out the coral ball, and he got in the water car and lost his hat. Lost his fancy hat. The next day, the prince was going around to look for the owner. And when Prince got to Fishy's house, Fishy's home, and Fishy sees the prince. Fishy swims to the prince. Fishy's brothers put the hats on their heads. It doesn't go on. It didn't go on and kept going and slipping off. When Fishy put it on his head, fits it perfectly. And the prince drive Fishy to the castle and lived happily, and then lived happily ever after. Thank you very much.
Once upon a time, in a land called the desert, lived a zebra named Stripey.
Title and name. What's the title of your story?
He lived in a king's house with three fearless lions named Rex, Man-Eater, and King Lion. They bit him every day. Stripey was nice to them because he gave them his jewels. Princess Zebra invited the animals to the football game. Stripey could not go to the football game because he had chores to do. the stuff on the floor. Poof! Suddenly a magical camel appeared. I am your magical camel, and I am here to help you. So, what do you need? To go to the football game, Stripey said. In a swish and a hiss, Stripey had a jersey and a bow tie. And then Stripey ran to the football game. He met with a girl on the team, and he was about to take a selfie, but it struck midnight. Stripey ran to the king's house, but he dropped his bow tie. When he got to the king's house, the magic wore off. The girl on the team, the girl tried to find him at houses. When she got to Stripey's house, Stripey opened the door. Here, try this on, said the girl on the team. It fits, said Stripey. Then they took a selfie and lived happily ever after at the end. Once upon a time, in a land called the Tundra, in the hole there was a wolf named Anthony. He was nice and he fed sick animals that were dying. Tundra is a beautiful place, but when oxen came, they were mean. They decided to eat Anthony. Anthony heard what they said, and they knew their names. In his mind, he said their names were Evil, Jack, and Sleepy. They saw Anthony and they said to him, "You can't go to the magical cave," they said to him meanly. Anthony was upset when he wanted to go. A magical bear appeared out of nowhere and was grateful because the fairy godfather bear told him what he could do. So he turned Anthony into a spider. The fairy godfather bear told him, "You should come down before 12 o'clock." So Anthony rushed off to the gate, and he said, "Thank you." When Anthony got there, he saw a doorknob. He opened the door. He saw the 3 oxen, but the 3 oxen didn't recognize Anthony. But the clock struck 12, and Anthony was worried, and he turned back into a wolf. The 3 oxen went to attack Anthony. The fairy godfather bear saw that Anthony was in danger, so the fairy godfather bear felt bad for Anthony. Anthony hid under the cave, but the fairy godfather bear came and turned Anthony back into a spider. But the 3 bad oxen knew that the spider was Anthony, so quickly the fairy godfather bear turned Anthony into an oxen. "Now, Anthony, you have to come back at 11 o'clock, said the fairy godfather bear. The 3 oxen saw that what happened, and so Evil asked the fourth oxen. How did you become an oxen? Jack had a plan.
Delete.
Jack pretended that he didn't know Anthony. Sneaky and evil did the same thing. Evil, Sneaky, and Jack said, "Give us all of your magic so we can get powerful." Anthony said, "Okay." Anthony went to the fairy god polar bear. How do I give magic?" said Anthony. "This is a magic taker. Give it to someone and you can use it, and it will take your magic, and whoever is holding it will get your magic." Anthony gave the magic taker to the three oxen and they pressed the button and it took Anthony's magic and Anthony turned back into a wolf. Anthony said, "You please." "Yes," said Jack. "I tricked you because I wanted to eat you. I made a plan so we can eat you and be powerful." As the oxen were about to eat Anthony, it turned 11 o'clock. The three oxen lost Anthony's power that he gave them, and they disappeared. Anthony made a house inside the cave, and he lived happily ever after.
Once upon a time, there are 3 white polar bears, lots of venomous birds, Arctic bugs named Boxer living in a very cold Arctic tundra. Boxer is very sweet in the Arctic. What? Boxer, Fox. The 3 bears were mean as he speed Foxer. Foxer were and burnt through his neighbors in the tundra. The bear had enough to eat. However, the 3 bears always showed a good of food. Boxer leapt up the doorsteps. The 3 birds' names were Tie, Sly, and Sweetly. 3 and animals and the boards under tea party and swimmers. This is a time of year when everyone got together to enjoy some nice tea along when coming among the swimmers for one nice great start to the Foxer won the swim race 5 years in the white birds are very mad and jealous. They'll never win. In fact, the bird so jealous took Foxer's swimming friend. When he wasn't look anymore, then permafrost. So he couldn't compete in the next race. As the airline was a bird, Boxer doesn't look all of Boxer the human trying to find a special friends, but
he couldn't mind help at all. The race was sort of going to start and began crying because he knew he'd completed the years and looked up one day the race. There were 3 bears, lots of the lemons, and all the other pectin. Looking for box. They're wondering why boxer wasn't there. They couldn't say what boxers do. In the title, everyone looked around. The boxer and lining up the glacier to dive in the water. And the starters sometimes they were so happy not to see Boxer on the line up and down. And if they did not, what's up to him and why he wasn't there while Baxter was sitting and all alone crying on the edge and sunny. The fairy godmother appeared, swam up right next him. She asked what was wrong, and Boxer told him disappointed he was not being able to find the hands to swim in the race. The fairy godmother said she could fix the problem if all the students sprouts a sprinkle of magic and from her well pool, and Boxster looks down in his body too. Nice. He found an arm set up and they only put Boxster had their was this 6 hours.
The famous?
Yes. Disappear. Boxer could believe his eyes. Boxster wasn't he will be back in enough time to spare and jump into the water and catch up to everyone. In the race, he not only fished the race, but he beat the best other swimmers and
Record time.
And never given such a start. Everyone and got a Boxer for toast and forgot what to do. And the boxer could at the time. You're back to the water's edge, but Ruth as wasn't too late. Meet the fairy gargoyle and didn't keep his all the students never natural fence fall off his body and is now running for the tundra. The fairy gargoyles as he were running, stumbled and fell on the lawn.
Look.
No wonder iceberg fish since they were missing. He looked around the tundra to to know to see looking up, he saw Todd silently the city better and sneaky small space looking boxer they knew. Boxer quickly picked up his friends, grounded and put his very safe stand. Boxer next year race. He also didn't bears could never be trusted again. Okay.
Once upon a time, there was a sweet elephant named Danny in the grasslands. There were 3 evil elephants nearby, named Jalen, Timothy, and Miss Robertson. They were evil because they did not say thank you for their towels to clean their skin. The king invited the animals to the grassland dance. Danny helped the elephants get ready for the grassland dance. Danny wanted to go to the grassland with the elephants, but the 3 evil elephants were on their way to the grassland dance without her. Danny said, I wish I got to go to the grassland dance. Danny saw a little trunk, a big fairy god elephant said, you are going to the grassland dance, but you have to be back by 10 p.m. When the fairy god elephant swung his tail, Danny had fancy clothes on. So Danny went to the grassland dance, but when Danny went to his house at 10 p.m., the magic ran out. The clothes were missing. The fairy god elephant flew around to find the fairy god elephant found the clothes on a roof and he brought the clothes back to Danny. Danny put the clothes happily ever after. The end.
Once upon a time, in the tropical rainforest, in a fancy village, lived a beautiful parrot named Cindy, and she had a beautiful house and garden. She was lonely, so her stepsisters and mother moved in with her. At first they were nice, and her stepmother said, what a beautiful house. But then they started to be mean and then rude and evil. Cindy wanted to go to the tropical ball, but her evil stepsisters and mother left her behind. While Cindy was crying, a frog came. The frog said, I am your fairy godbrother. Your stepsisters and mother named Scarlet Snake and Smarty are evil. That's why you're going to the tropical ball. Her fairy god frog said, give me a pumpkin, 3 mice, and 2 lizards. The fairy god frog hopped 3 times, and the pumpkin turned into a beautiful carriage. The mice turned into 3 horses, and the lizards turned into passengers. Cindy turned into a beautiful owl. Then her fairy god frog said, at 7 p.m. that's when your magic ends. Cindy said, you mean when my beautiful feather turns back to how it was? Yes, said her fairy god frog. Said Cindy arrived at the ball. When she entered the ball, the prince looked at her. The prince said, you look so pretty. Cindy said, thank you. They danced nicely. They danced for a long time, but then ding dong, rang the clock. When she ran down the tropical escalator, her beautiful feather fell. She looked back at her feather, but she kept on running. Then the prince yelled, what's your name? But Cindy didn't have time. When her evil stepsisters and mother came home, the prince came too. Cindy came down the stairs. The prince saw her wing. It looks just like hers, said the prince. It fits perfectly, the prince said. I found her, the prince said. You are going to live in my castle forever. They finally got married. The end.
Once upon a time in a land called the Wetlands lived a toad named Jessica. She was sweet and nice. She lived near evil, rude, and mean snakes named Jada, Sophie, and Bella. They were so mean. They said mean stuff to her. Jessica was so nice to them. She shared stuff, and the mean snake never said thank you. She shared her bracelet. Jessica had to dress them up for dinner. The 3 snakes left her. Jessica cried and cried. She went to her room, and this big present was there, and something was moving. She opened it, and a magic fairy god beaver popped out. Who are you? I'm your fairy god beaver. Jessica turned into a beautiful frog. She was beautiful because she had a new necklace and bracelet. She also had a beautiful and colorful dress. She also had a new golden bracelet. She saw that day at the store. She went to dinner. No one recognized her. She was so beautiful. The king had dinner with her. When it was 10 o'clock, she had to go home as fast as she could. The golden bracelet slipped off of her hands, and the king ran after her and saw the golden bracelet. He asked every animal in the wetlands, but not the snakes. Then he asked the snakes, "Is this yours?" "Yes," said the snakes, but they could not hold it or put it on. Jessica hopped, and the king gave it to her, and she could hold it and put it on. It fit perfectly, and they lived happily ever after. The end.
three snakes named Stinky and Sock. Goldie bring rocks and sand to the snakes. They did not say thank you. The snakes king invited the animal to the sand soccer game. Goldie helped the snakes get into their uniforms and they left her. The fairy god cactus pop out of the sand and the fairy god cactus shoot said, "Don't hurt you." Shoot out twinkle. Cool camel had on a glass cleats uniform. The camel ride a magic sand carpet and rode to the sand soccer. She played with it all day. It was 12 o'clock. She ran to the house and the magic could disappear quickly. The cool glasses fell down. The king went to the snake's house. They could not hold the glasses. The cocoon went down and she could hold the glasses. The king and camel got married and they lived happily ever after and they were so happy with each other. What the?
Once upon a time in an underwater world in the coral reefs lived a fish named Genesis who always worked hard for the three seals named Victoria, Macy, and Rachel who lived near her. They were rude because they never said thank you. One afternoon a royal messenger came to their house and said, "The king has invited every girl in the neighborhood to dinner. Whoever brings the best crown will be his best friend." Genesis, Rachel, Macy, Victoria were excited. They wanted to be his best friend. Genesis helped the three seals into their gowns, and she went to go and look for pretty crowns. When she came back, the three seals were ready. She asked if she could go, but they said, "You are too dirty." So she ran to the garden and cried. Soon a glittery light appeared and turned into a fairy god polyp and said, "Why are you crying?" "Who are you?" said Genesis. "I am your fairy god polyp." Genesis said why she was crying, and she said, "I can help you. I will make you the best crown ever." Genesis smiled and she left for dinner, but her fairy god polyp said, "You must be back by 1 in the morning." She was having so much fun until it was 1 o'clock. Genesis ran from the prince. As she ran down the steps, the crown fell and the prince picked it up. He said, "Whoever can fit the crown on their head will be my best friend." So he went to every girl's house. Soon he came to Genesis' house. The three seals tried the crown on, but it did not fit. Then they
When Genesis came down from her room, she said, "It is mine. If the crown fits you, it is yours," said the prince. She tried on the crown, and it fit. He asked her if she wanted to be his best friend, and she said yes. And they lived happily ever after.
Once upon a time in a temperate rainforest lived a fairy girl named Pamela. She lived next to the three bad snakes. Pamela gave berries to the three bad snakes. The Halloween party, fairy girl was left alone crying. God Monkey appeared and changed his banana into a fancy costume. "You are going to the Halloween party. You have to come back at midnight." Fairy Girl went to the Halloween party. She danced with the prince. At midnight, the magic went away. Fairy Girl dropped her wand as she ran home. The prince went to find her, so the prince went to find Princess How. And the princess went downstairs. He said, "Here I am." They fell in love and lived happily.
Once upon a time in the coral reef, there lived a polyp, and she lived with her mean mom and sisters. The sisters were named Rosa and Vanessa, and the mom's name was Scarlet. Her sisters got dressed by Kim, and she also helped her mom by combing her hair. The sisters were mean to Kim. The mom also was mean to Kim. One day, the prince, named Mr. Pollock, said, "We are having a coral reef ball. All the girls must come, and you have to bring something." Kim went to get the stuff for the sisters, said thank you, but in a mean way, and they left. Kim asked to go to the ball. They said, "No, no, no, you are going to clean my place. You do not call me." A fairy godfish appeared, and Kim said, "Who are you?" "I am your fairy godfish, and I am here to help you." What? What? Hap- what? Happened to what? What? What happened, Kim? "I want to go to the coral reef ball." She said, "Then go." But my mom said I cannot go. "Why?" "Because I have no shoes, no ride, no or clothes." "How you do? Now you do," said the fairy godfish. Kim turned around. "How did I get this beautiful dress and shoes thank you. And she went to the ball. When she arrived at the ball, everyone was looking at her. At the ball, they were saying, "Who is she?" The king said, "You look beautiful." And she said, "Thank you." Kim danced all night, but it struck 3. "I have to go." She ran, but she left.
Did you do the whole story?
Her
Can you listen to the whole story?
her pet seal.
There's only 2 seconds
Her
long.
pet
That whole
seal.
story is 2 seconds long.
The king
Okay, no, you
said
something.
said
Okay, listen to it.
said
What do you hear?
wait, but she had to go,
So you
and
do it again.
and she left.
When you're ready,
The
push this button.
the king was going
Okay?
from house to house. Kim
You can't go back.
was looking out
I got you here.
of
When you're ready,
look
get your papers all ready.
was looking
Record. When you're
Kim
ready, push stop.
was looking out
I got you.
of the window, and she saw him coming there. He got when he got to their door, he said, "Please open the door," and they did. "Is this your pet seal?" Maybe, but will call my daughter Kim." "Can you come down?" "Yes." The prince said, "Is this your pet seal?" "Yes, it is." "Will you marry me?" "Yes, I will." They got to be married, and the mom had to be the babysitters, and they lived happily ever after. The end.
Once upon a time in a land called the Coral Reefs lived a fish named Violet. She was very sweet and kind. She lived near some very sneaky eels named Michaela, Hoveran, and Esperanza. The eels took Violet's jewelry. Violet always found jewelry for the eels. One day, the queen sent a letter to the kingdom. Violet wanted to go, but her stepmother said to not go. Her stepmother took her ring from Violet. Her stepmother gave it to one of her daughters. They all went to the queen's castle except Violet. Then Violet started to cry, and a sparkly rock appeared, and a fairy god popped up from the sparkly rock. The fairy said, "Why are you crying? I want to go to the castle, but my stepmother didn't let me go to the castle, and I need a beautiful ring," said Violet. The fairy god Polyp gave her the beautiful ring. Violet was grateful to the fairy god Polyp. The fairy god Polyp said, "You need a dress too." And the fairy gave the dress. "Now I can go to the castle," said Violet. So she went to the castle, and they saw the beautiful ring. So they announced the person who had the beautiful ring was going to live with the queen forever. They said that Violet was going to live with the queen, but it was too late. So she ran home and she dropped the ring. So the queen went house to house until she got to Violet's house. Violet tried the ring and it fit. So Violet lived with the queen and they lived happily ever after. Once upon a time in the Westland, a girl that was sweet and her name was Sky. Next door, Miss Robertson. There was three new friends teenagers, and their names were Jessica. She thought there was a noise. Until that day, the king sent an invitation to explore the kingdom. The rude frogs saw the invitation from Sky and they stole it, but Sky found out. Sky said, "Can I go?" They said no. She was sad and was gone. The fairy godmother appeared and said, "What's wrong? I can't go to the ball." "Go," she said, let's come back by 12 o'clock. "But I have nothing to wear." "Here's a dress." Bubbly, bubbly, boo. Now go. Okay, so she went in the ball. I'm done. And now the prince loved it and danced it all night. She had to go. At 12 o'clock, the prince said, "Look, your crown." But she never answered, so she went home. So then he said, "I'm going to find out." He went to all of the houses but one, which he passed by. And came back to which he passed it by, and came back to knocked on the door all night, but nobody answered. So he stayed there all night. It was morning. Gino said, "I'm getting the door." Knocking, shouted loudly, "Girls!" They said, "What?" And they saw Chris. He said, "I forgot your address. I've been looking for you lately." "That's live here." "Oh, don't tell Sky," said Gino. Sky said, "What?" And the prince said, "It is her. We should get together tomorrow." Morning, said Sky. She woke up and got ready. She went to the kingdom. The prince was waiting for her when she got there. He said, "Are here?" She said, "Yes." So they got married and they left. They saw someone down. So they walked up and they lived happily ever after. And then we Once upon a time in a land called the Corals, there lived a beautiful fish called Glimmer. She knew two electric eels, and they were so neat. and sneaky, really sneaky, always stole her jewelry. One day, a fish prince sent out an invitation saying, "Whoever brings the shiniest thing gets to marry me." Glimmer was so sweet and nice. The electric eels went to Glimmer's house and told her make them ready, so the prince marries one of them. Glimmer was so nice. She said, "Fine, I will do it." Then they said, "You won't marry the prince." The eels had pink dresses on her diamonds. The eels said, "You are not coming." They ran to the underwater ball. Glimmer was crying. "Who are you?" "I am your fairy god whale. You will go to the ball." Glimmer said, "Okay," and stopped crying. She turned Glimmer into a fish wearing a blue dress and a pretty rose, a glass slipper, and a necklace. "You have to be back when the sun goes down." Glimmer said, "Okay, I promise." Then she went to the ball with a golden underwater cart. When the fish prince saw Glimmer, he just had to dance with her. They danced and danced until the sun went down. She ran away from the prince and dropped her necklace. Everything turned back into it was. The prince looked everywhere for her. Glimmer went and said, if you are the right and perfect thing." They got married and lived happily ever after. Oh my. Once upon a time in the land called the tropical rainforest lived a bird named Cinderella. She lived in a treehouse with a mean snake. Their names were Doña Micaela and Sneaky. Then they were mean because Cinderella was going out of the house because she was getting food, but her snakes and her stepmom said no, and "No, you are not going out," in a firm voice. Cinderella cried. Cinderella wanted to go to the water party behind the waterfall. Then the fairy god monkey came out of a leaf. Then she said, "Bibbidi bobbidi fairy, now you have fancy feathers to go to the party, but you have to come back before midnight or the first feather of color is gone." Cinderella went to the party, and everyone looked at her. Then dong dong, the clock struck midnight. Cinderella ran, and she lost one of her feathers. In the morning, Cinderella was looking for her feather. Then she found her feather and she put it back on. "It fits perfectly," Cinderella said. Cinderella lived happily ever after. Once upon a time in the coral reef there was a princess fish named Lucy and the 3 rude sharks that lived next door. Lucy was always nice to everyone. The 3 sharks were so rude. Then the next day the prince sent an invitation to everyone. The 3 sharks were so excited. Lucy had to make dresses for them. They did not say thank you. Lucy had to make a dress for herself, but then the three sharks said, "What are you doing?" Lucy said, "I am making a dress for myself." The three sharks said, Why? Lucy said, "Because I am coming with you." The three sharks said, "No, you are not. You are staying here." Lucy was so sad. All of a sudden, the water turned sparkly and the fairy god Polyp appeared. Lucy said, "Who are you?" The fairy god Polyp said, "I am your fairy god Polyp." A asked, "Why are you sad?" Lucy said, "Because the three sharks would not let me go to the ball. Coral Reef Ball, but I can't, because what if the three sharks see me?" "You are going to go disguised with pretty hair and shoes and a beautiful dress. They will not notice that you are there." "How am I going to get there?" Get to the coral get to the ball. I will make a carriage. I need a heavy pumpkin and 2 mice, 2 ducks, and remember, you must return when the clock strikes midnight." Lucy said, "Okay, I will remember." She was excited to go to the ball. When the prince saw her, he wanted to dance every song with her. The three sharks were so jealous. All of Lucy, she then remembered that she had to go home. She ran as fast as she could. Her glass slipper fell off of her foot. The next day, the prince was going to everyone's house because he was trying to find his princess. Come and live together. Finally, he arrived at Lucy's house. The three sharks were there, and they were surprised. The three sharks said, "What are you doing here?" The prince said, "I am looking for my princess. Would you try this slipper on?" "Okay, it does not fit me."
there anyone else that is here? Yes, Lucy. Come to him. Try the slipper. Okay, it fits me. Okay, the fits me. I have found my princess. My princess, and they got married, and they lived happily ever after. The end.
Done. Once upon a time, in an underwater coral reef, there lived a beautiful pink fish called Jessica. But the pink fish lived with her evil friends called Ella, Emily, and Eliana. But one day, her biggest friend Emily said, "You have to clean our room so it looks tidy before we go to eat." Jessica sat down on the chair to eat, but there was only a little bit of food left to eat, so she decided not to eat. So the next day, somebody knocked on the door. Jessica opened the door, and the fisherman said, "Whoever is the prettiest girl in the coral reef will live with the prince." Then Jessica gave the card to Emily, and Emily snatched it, and she read the card. Jessica asked, "Can I please go?" "Not at all." Eliana said, "Jessica, make me a dress." So the next day, the friends went to the ball. Then Jessica went outside, and fairy godmother appeared. She told Jessica to bring a rock to her, and the fairy godmother turned it into a beautiful outdoor submarine, and she changed her dress into a fancy pink dress with a diamond. Then Jessica went to the ball. The other fisherman looked at all the prince looked all at the girls, but he picked Jessica. Then they danced. Then the clock struck 12. Jessica ran off to the carriage, and her dress and her little diamond came off her dress. The prince picked it up, and Jessica's magic turned bad. The next day, the prince said, "I am going to find the girl that I danced with last night." Then the prince went to find Jessica. The next day, the prince knocked on the door, and Emily opened the door. Emily said, "Girls, the prince came." The prince said, "Have you ever seen this diamond before?"
Emily said,
What is my title? What is my title?
Emily and Ian and Ella said no. Then Jessica came to the door.
I already have my title.
She said that
Wanna hear my title?
she said that I have seen it before. The diamond. I have seen it before. The Jessica said it's mine. The prince said, do you want to live with me? Jessica said yes, and Jessica said yes, and they lived happily ever after. The end.
Once upon a time, in an underwater world called the Coral Reef, there lived a polyp. Her name was Colette. She was sweet and nice to the three bad eels that lived next door. She always shared her food that she got for herself, but when the eels got food for themselves, they did not give her any. One day, the prince sent a letter to everyone that lived in the coral reef, and it said, come to the coral ball." The next day, the eels were leaving, and Colette did not have anything to wear. The eels left her behind, and she started to cry. Suddenly, sparkles came around her. Then a fish appeared, and she asked, "Who are you?" "I'm your fairy godmother." Then the fairy godfish changed her dirty dress into a beautiful ball dress, and the fairy godfish said, "You have to be back at 11. So she went to the ball. The prince loved her, and they danced all night until the clock struck 11 o'clock. She rushed home and lost her golden slipper. The prince picked it up, and the next day, the prince came to Pamela. When he got to the house Pamela lived, he said, "I found you. Here is your slippers." And they lived happily ever after and got married.